Joe Rogan just backstabbed Donald Trump live on air. And honestly, it was glorious. No warning, no holding back, just pure unscripted truth aimed straight at Trump's broken policies and billionaire buddies. But first, we open with a devastating plea from Greg Kazar, who exposes how life-saving food is being blocked while children starve, setting the stage and context for everything Rogan is about to tear apart. Let's get right into it.
I'm going to do something that I've never done in a congressional hearing before, and that is plead for help from the American people, plead for help from my Republican colleagues on something that we actually all agree on, because lives are at stake right now. I'm going to start by describing the facts on the ground. Millions of people are at risk of dying of starvation in areas of the world where Democrats and Republicans have already agreed and committed to feeding them with American-grown food for humanitarian reasons and for global stability. But yesterday, I spoke with people in charge of warehouses in Sudan and Ethiopia, warehouses full of food, but because of Doge, that food is trapped in the warehouse out of reach of starving and dying moms and kids. In those two countries alone, 150,000 children and moms are at risk of dying this month if that food is not delivered from the warehouse to them right up the road. Everyone agrees that's not supposed to happen.
And here it comes, the unexpected plot twist no one saw coming. The real villain in this global hunger crisis is DOGE. Yes, DOGE, the agency that's supposed to coordinate and deliver aid, is now out here playing gatekeeper with tons of life-saving food just sitting there. And Greg Kazar, he's not just whispering for help, he's practically shouting through a megaphone, shaking the system and begging Congress to snap out of it. This isn't politics anymore. This is pure disgusting red tape failure, and in a second, he's going to explain exactly how DOGE became the human roadblock in the middle of a famine. Hang tight.
Republicans voted for this food, and Democrats voted for this food to get out. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the food should go out as part of his life-saving waiver. DOGE Chairwoman Marjorie Taylor Greene started this hearing by saying that life-saving food programs should still be running. We have paid for the food, and we have shipped it, and it is sitting trapped in the warehouse because DOGE is blocking the payments needed to get the food out to the people who need it. So here's what that means. It means that kids are dying, and more will die tomorrow, of severe acute malnutrition. If you want nightmares, just Google severe acute malnutrition and look at the photos. The way that healthcare workers determine if a kid is dying of this is they measure their bicep. And if their bicep is less than 4.5 inches around, then that means you could die of starvation tomorrow. Think of a kid's arm fitting through this hole. Think of your kid's arm fitting through this hole. These kids could die tomorrow. You've heard today about the waiver for life-saving humanitarian assistance, and all I'm asking is for Rubio's waiver to be made real. People watching at home, you can do something about this.
And this is exactly what we knew would happen. The writing was on the wall. These are the same vulnerable kids that Elon Musk was happily stealing pennies from in the name of cutting costs. Meanwhile, this man is practically swimming in billions from US taxpayers, blowing up rockets, pumping out companies that do nothing for the average American. Only Elon could invent a version of capitalism where he gets rich, we foot the bill, and children starve. That's not innovation, that's corporate communism. Elon Musk takes the money, no risk, all reward, and what do we get? A billionaire with even more power to buy elections. Yeah. Sounds like a fantastic deal for America, right? And the human cost of this Elon Musk Doge mess. It's not just horrifying, it's infuriating. Even Joe Rogan couldn't stay silent, as you're about to see right now.
Like the whole thing is, there's a lot of fraud, a lot of money laundering, but also we help the world. And when you're talking about making wells for people in the Congo to get fresh water, when you talk about food and medicine to places that don't have access, like, no way that should have been cut out. And that should have been clear before they make these radical cuts. Like, there's got to be a way to keep aid and not have fraud. And you can't say we're going to kill everything so that there's no fraud.
And just like that, Joe Rogan turns into the unexpected voice of reason. No spin, no billionaire bootlicking, just straight up facts. He's calling out the absurd logic here. Yes, there's fraud. Yes, there's waste. But you don't torch the entire system just because a few bad actors slip through. You don't stop digging wells in the Congo just to prove a point. You fix the fraud. You don't punish starving kids for it. And Joe, he's not done. He's about to keep spitting truth, raw, unfiltered, and aimed right at the heart of this mess.
But then you're killing all the good, and you're doing it without letting anybody know it's going to happen. So it's not like they had 3 years to prepare. Let's build a new infrastructure. Let's make sure that everything's set up. They wanted change, and they want to change quickly. And due to the nature of American politics, they have about 2 years before the midterms, right? So everything has to get done as quickly as possible. You have to show a growth in GDP. You have to show that the economy's booming again under these ideas. Make America first, tariffs for the world, bring back American manufacturing, and this mad rush to do it all as quickly as possible while cutting out as much waste as possible.
And yeah, Joe Rogan is far from finished. He's unloading truth bombs like it's 2020 all over again. And this time, he's aiming them straight at the America First crowd. Because here's the kicker. When you rush to slap your name on a booming GDP and call it a day, you end up bulldozing everything good along the way. No warning, no transition, just chaos in the name of a campaign slogan. Joe's pointing out the obvious. It's not reform, it's a reckless sprint for political points. And trust me, he's not letting up just yet.
But the ironic thing is, even though Elon Musk has proposed all these things and the Doge Committee has proposed all these things, they've made no cuts in terms of the budget. They've cut nothing. They vote against
such a tiny part. I mean, if it's big government or whatever, people want to shrink. I get the instinct, but the life-saving part, it's like the little finger of the giant.
Right, exactly.
I mean, and I've met all these people, and I'm sure there's part of it, I think about 10% of it goes to things like governance and, human rights organizations. You might say that's political and we shouldn't be involved in that. And there's reforms, I imagine, that might have been necessary. But to have the reforms, but to destroy, to vandalize. I mean, it felt like with glee, these life support systems were being pulled out of the walls. And I was reading today, it's like, I think it's in Christianity Today, and they're just talking, I think it's called Christian Relief, one of these organizations. And they're dealing with malnourished kids. And they are having the conversation now about, we don't have the funds, we have to choose which child to pull off the IVs. And it just seems to me like a kind of, I don't know if evil is a strong word, too strong a word, but what we know about pure evil is it rejoices in the deaths, of the squandering of human life.
And somehow, the irony here is off the charts. Elon Musk and the Doge squad love to scream about wasteful spending. But when it's time to actually cut the budget, they vote against it every time. Even Joe Rogan can't believe it, because if the instinct is to shrink big government, fine, argue that. But this wasn't that. This was cutting life-saving aid, the tiniest sliver of the entire system, just to score political points. You don't save money by turning off IVs in refugee camps. And the guest puts it bluntly, this wasn't reform. This was gleeful sabotage. Aid groups are now literally having to decide which starving child to pull off support. That's where we are. And if that doesn't make your blood boil, maybe ask yourself who benefits from all this cruelty. Because Joe Rogan just helped expose the truth. These cuts were never about real change. It was a rush job, a desperate attempt to look tough, look efficient, and maybe get a few headlines before the midterms. And of course, it's all falling apart. Trump promised to fix everything on day one. Affordable lives, jobs, a booming America. But none of that happened. Instead, he's out here admitting on stage that he's just making up tariffs off the top of his head. That's not leadership. That's chaos with a spray tan. And the worst part, the people around him don't understand government, and they hate it. This isn't a budget plan, it's a stunt. And the next example, oh, it's coming. And it's straight from Trump's latest military fantasy playbook, and it's going to cost us big time.
And the vice chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff reportedly told colleagues at the Pentagon that the parade that Trump wanted was what dictators do. Well, that was then, and this is now. And now Donald Trump has an administration full of yes men and yes women, including a former weekend cable host running the Pentagon. And so Donald Trump will finally get the parade he's always dreamed of. Now, to be clear, plans have been in the works for a while now to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. But at some point this year, those plans changed to include the massive parade in D.C. on June 14th, which also happens to be Trump's 79th birthday. Go figure.
And surprise, surprise, Trump's long-lost dream of a dictator-style parade is finally coming true. You know, the kind of over-the-top military flex you usually see in North Korea or on Trump's vision board. Even the vice chair of the Joint Chiefs once warned this is what dictators do. But now, Trump's surrounded by sycophants and spineless yes men, including a Pentagon run by a former weekend cable host. So naturally, the 250th Army anniversary just happened to morph into a massive June 14th spectacle, also known as Trump's 79th birthday. And trust us, Jen Psaki is far from done exposing this mess.
Now, preparations for that event are already underway, and it will reportedly include about 130 vehicles, including tanks, armored fighting vehicles, trucks towing artillery launchers, 50 helicopters, and 9,000 troops. Those troops will be housed in government buildings and will be sleeping on cots and in their own sleeping bags. According to NBC News, they will also be expected to dine on ready-to-eat rations during their stay here for this parade. I imagine those accommodations have something to do with cost cutting. This is, of course, the administration that likes to brag about its focus on cutting wasteful spending, and yet the whole thing is still expected to cost as much as $45 million. A figure, by the way, that doesn't include paying to fix damaged roads, cleanup, security. But that's actually not the only cost of Donald Trump's strongman vanity parade.
And here's where Jen Psaki lands another direct hit, because the $45 million price tag, that's just the starter pack. Trump's ego parade is rolling in with tanks, helicopters, and 9,000 troops, who, by the way, will be sleeping in government hallways and eating rations like it's wartime cosplay. But hey, it's all in the name of fiscal responsibility, right? Except that budget doesn't even include the cost of fixing busted roads, cleanup, or security. Because when Trump throws a party, we get the bill. And Psaki, she's about to explain why that price tag is not even the final price.
See, for more than 3 decades, veterans of the Vietnam War and their families have held an annual ceremony at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. to honor those who served and died. And this year, for the first time, that ceremony is being forced to move out of D.C. to make room for Trump's military parade. This year, the ceremony for Vietnam War vets will be held a few miles away in Virginia and feature a 3/4 scale reproduction of the iconic Wall Memorial. And while many who plan to attend still feel the gesture from the organizers of the ceremony is genuine, and it certainly is, some also feel like it won't be the same. One veteran speaking with Stars and Stripes said, quote, "Visiting the wall at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial is sacred. This is like putting up a model of the Statue of Liberty." A wife of a veteran told the Washington Post, I feel anger. I don't feel anger. I think I'm just really sad, but I'm still going to honor my husband. And another veteran's wife said, "I respect the 250th anniversary of the Army. That is not a small deal, but our heroes are being shoved aside. This is no way to honor the Army or our country." Amen to that.
And there it is, the most disgraceful twist in this entire circus. For over 30 years, Vietnam veterans and their families have gathered at the actual memorial in DC to honor the fallen. But this year, they're being pushed out to make room for Donald Trump's birthday parade. That's right, the veterans who risked their lives for this country now have to settle for a scaled-down replica of the Vietnam Wall, because Trump needs room for his tanks and photo ops. One vet said it best, "This is like putting up a model of the Statue of Liberty." Another said, "Our heroes are being shoved aside." And shoved aside for what? A parade of ego and delusion for a man who dodged the draft and now plays commander-in-chief on his birthday. If that doesn't make your blood boil, I don't know what will. So if you're just as outraged as we are, go ahead and like this video, subscribe, and click the next one right here. Because trust us, what we've got coming up next about Trump, it's even more shameless, more twisted, and somehow even worse. You do not want to miss it.